When most people think about getting someone back, their first instinct is to chase. They think if they can just say the right words, send the right text, or make the right apology, she'll change her mind and come running back. But here's the truth: chasing never works. In fact, the more you chase, the more you push her away, because all she feels is pressure. And pressure is the enemy of attraction. The secret isn't about convincing her. It's about creating an energy so magnetic that she naturally finds herself pulled back into your world without you forcing it. When you stop thinking about what you can do to get her back and start thinking about who you can become, everything shifts. Because attraction isn't born from words, it's born from presence. If she left, there was a reason, and trying to argue that reason away will never erase it. What will change the story is when she looks at you and feels something different, something she wasn't expecting. That difference comes not from persuasion, but from attraction. Attraction isn't built in those desperate phone calls or long explanations. It's built when she sees you standing tall, calm, confident, and certain in who you are, even without her by your side. That's when she starts to wonder, did I underestimate him? Did I walk away too soon? Why does he feel so different now? Those questions can't be planted by words, they're planted by energy, and energy doesn't lie. Think about it. When you chase, the message you send is, I need you to feel okay. But when you step back, focus on yourself, grow, and radiate a kind of self-sufficiency, the message shifts to, I'm okay with or without you, but I'm still the man who could make your world exciting again. That difference is everything. People are drawn not to neediness, but to independence wrapped in warmth. And here's where it gets powerful. Women are not pulled back by logic. They're pulled back by curiosity and emotion. If every interaction with you feels predictable, the same pleading, the same apologies, the same reassurances, then she knows exactly what's on the table. There's no spark. But if she senses you've changed, if she notices that you're no longer waiting around for her validation, suddenly there's something new to explore. That's attraction. That's the silent pull that makes her come back, not because you pushed her, but because she wants to find out what's different. You see, the moment you stop chasing is the moment the dynamic shifts. She no longer feels you clinging. Instead, she feels the space you've created. And in that space, she gets to miss you. She gets to feel the loss instead of you constantly trying to fill it. That's when attraction starts to rebuild itself, slowly but powerfully. The powerful secret is simply, don't try to pull her back. Create the gravity that makes her want to step closer. And gravity isn't loud, it doesn't beg, it doesn't explain, it doesn't demand. It just exists, and everything around it feels its pull. You don't force the planets to orbit the sun. The sun just burns so brightly that everything else can't help but circle back. That's what you become when you stop chasing and start attracting. When she looks at you and sees a man who is not desperate for her approval, who continues to live, to grow, and to thrive even without her, she will feel something far stronger than obligation. She will feel desire. And that's the only thing that ever brings her back. Scarcity has always been the hidden force behind desire. Think about it, we value what feels rare, we crave what isn't always available, and we notice the absence of something far more than its constant presence. When someone is always there, always accessible, always ready to answer the phone or reply within seconds, their presence starts to lose its weight. It's not that they aren't valuable. It's that their value becomes blurred in the comfort of knowing they will never leave. But the moment that presence fades, the moment there is a void, suddenly it stirs something deep inside, a realization of what was once taken for granted. That is why scarcity creates value, and that is why it is so powerful in relationships. When she walks away, your instinct may be to hold tighter, to stay visible, to constantly remind her of your existence. But that constant reminder becomes noise. She doesn't have space to feel what life is like without you because you never truly left. The irony is that by staying too present, you rob her of the very chance to rediscover your worth. Scarcity works because it allows her to feel the difference between a world with you and a world without you. And it is in that gap that she begins to question if letting you go was the right choice. You cannot manufacture value through endless words, but you can create it through absence. Imagine if you always had her attention, if she always knew you'd pick up, if you always made yourself available no matter what time or what circumstance. There is no tension in that, no pull, no intrigue. But the moment she wonders where you are, the moment she realizes you didn't answer immediately, the moment she sees you living a life that doesn't revolve around her, something shifts. She remembers what it felt like to have your energy centered on her, and now she feels the sting of not having it. That sting is what sparks desire. Scarcity isn't about manipulation. It isn't about games or calculated silence. It's about reclaiming your presence and your time in a way that naturally makes you less accessible. When you are busy working on yourself, pursuing your passions, strengthening your friendships, and living your life fully, your availability shrinks. Not because you're pretending, but because you genuinely have more to give to yourself. That is when she sees you differently. That is when she wonders if she misjudged what she had. And here's the powerful part: when you're scarce in the right way, it doesn't create resentment, it creates intrigue. If she already knew what it was like to have all of you, then not having you reminds her of the moments she might never get again. Those memories, those feelings, begin to surface because she has space to miss them. Scarcity allows her to feel your value without you saying a single word. It's not absence for the sake of absence. It's purposeful space that reignites her awareness. She can't long for you if she never gets the chance to feel your absence. And she can't rediscover your worth if you keep shoving it in front of her. By stepping back, you allow her to step forward on her own. You give her the gift of realizing that not everyone, not everything is guaranteed. Scarcity teaches her that what once seemed permanent was actually fragile, and that recognition can be a powerful wake-up call. The secret here is understanding that people never value what they believe they can't lose. When she sees you moving forward, when she notices your world doesn't collapse without her, when she feels that gap where your attention once was, she cannot help but start to reevaluate. And it is that reevaluation that opens the door for her return, not because you chased, but because you became valuable again in her eyes. Most men make the mistake of thinking that getting her back is about convincing her, about finding the perfect argument that proves why she should be with them again. They imagine if they just explain enough, promise enough, or demonstrate how much they care, she'll change her mind. But attraction doesn't work that way. Attraction isn't logical. It isn't built in spreadsheets of pros and cons, and it doesn't respond to arguments. Attraction responds to how you make someone feel. And when you spend all your energy trying to convince her, you come across as desperate, needy, and weak. 3 qualities that kill desire instantly. The real power lies not in convincing, but in becoming irresistible. Becoming irresistible doesn't mean changing who you are at your core. It means amplifying the qualities that make you magnetic in the first place. It means shifting the focus away from her and putting it back on you. Because when you obsess over what she thinks, you give away all your energy, and she feels it. When you reclaim that energy and pour it into yourself, she feels that too, and the difference is dramatic. She no longer sees a man trying to win her over. She sees a man who is already winning in life, with or without her. Think about the times when she was most drawn to you. It wasn't when you were begging for her attention, it was when you were in your element. Maybe you were focused on your goals, passionate about your work, or playful in a way that made her laugh without effort. That's when she couldn't get enough of you, because you were alive, grounded, and fully yourself. That's what being irresistible looks like. It's not about rehearsing lines to say to her, It's about living in such a way that your very presence communicates confidence, strength, and joy. The trap of convincing is that it puts you in the position of trying to change her mind. But when you try to change her mind, you give her all the power. You're essentially saying, "My worth depends on whether you choose me or not." That is not attractive. What is attractive is the opposite. When you carry yourself as someone who knows his worth regardless of her choice. That self-assuredness makes her pause. It makes her look twice. It makes her wonder if she underestimated you. And this is where the shift happens. When you stop trying to convince, you free yourself to become more centered, more magnetic, more exciting. She doesn't return because of the speech you gave her. She returns because she feels something different when she looks at you. She feels curiosity, she feels desire, she feels a pull that words alone can't create. That pull comes from your transformation, not your persuasion. It's also worth remembering that convincing is exhausting for you and for her. Every time you try to prove your worth, you drain yourself and you make her feel pressured. But when you stop that cycle and redirect your energy into being irresistible, everything changes. Instead of feeling weighed down by your efforts, she feels lifted by your presence. Instead of seeing a man trying too hard, she sees a man who doesn't need to try because he simply is. That's what makes her want to be near you again. The powerful secret here is that becoming irresistible is not about her at all. It's about you stepping into the version of yourself that you've always been capable of being. And the irony is, when you stop making it about her, that's when she starts noticing you again. When you stop pushing, she starts leaning in. When you stop proving, she starts wondering. And when you stop convincing, you finally give her something worth being convinced about. When we think about why someone chooses to return, it's tempting to believe it's because they sat down and thought logically about what makes sense. We imagine them listing the reasons, weighing the pros and cons, and then deciding we're the right choice. But love and attraction don't work that way. People don't come back because of logic, they come back because of how you make them feel. She won't return because you gave her all the reasons why you're good together. She'll return because something in her heart stirs when she thinks of you, something that reason alone can't quiet down. Emotional impact always outweighs logic. If you've ever tried to argue someone back into your life, you already know how fruitless it feels. You can explain your intentions, you can apologize for mistakes, you can point out all the good memories, and still she won't budge. That's because reasoning targets the head, but attraction lives in the heart. And the heart is moved by feelings. Feelings of excitement, feelings of safety, feelings of desire, feelings of curiosity. When those emotions are triggered again, she doesn't need a list of reasons to return. She just wants to come back. Think about the first time she was drawn to you. It wasn't because you gave her a detailed plan for the future or proved you were the most logical partner. She was drawn to you because of how you made her feel in the moment. Maybe she felt alive when she laughed with you. Maybe she felt seen when you listened in a way no one else did. Maybe she felt desired when your attention was fully on her. Those emotions are what built the bond, not a logical argument. So if she's going to return, it will be because those emotions are reignited, not because you present her with evidence. The problem is, when you're desperate to get her back, you lean on logic because it feels safer. You think if you can just show her the facts, she'll come to her senses. But logic often backfires because it makes her feel pressured, and pressure kills the very feelings you're trying to bring back. Emotional impact, on the other hand, bypasses all of that. It makes her feel something in her gut that she can't ignore, even if her mind tries to argue against it. You create that emotional impact not by over-explaining, but by embodying the qualities that once made her feel alive around you. When she sees you laughing with others, when she notices your confidence again, when she feels your energy has shifted from neediness to strength, it triggers something in her. She remembers what it felt like to be in your orbit. That memory creates a spark, and that spark is far more powerful than any reasoning could ever be. It's also about contrast. If her recent experiences have been bland, predictable, or unfulfilling, the reminder of your energy will hit her even harder. She'll feel the difference between what she has now and what she felt with you. And that emotional contrast can be impossible to ignore. Again, it's not logical. She might even tell herself she shouldn't think about you. But emotion always wins. The secret here is to focus less on explaining why she should come back and more on being the man who makes her feel something again. A smile, a look, a vibe of confidence. These can do more than 1,000 conversations ever could. When she feels that pull, when her body responds before her mind can catch up, that's when her heart reopens. And once the heart reopens, the mind finds ways to justify it. She won't return because she's convinced. She'll return because, despite everything, she can't escape the feeling that being with you makes her world brighter, fuller, and more alive. And no amount of logic can compete with that. There's a certain kind of power that doesn't need to shout, doesn't need to explain, and doesn't need to beg for recognition. It's the kind of power that is felt in silence, in posture, in presence. And when it comes to drawing her back, that kind of power is far more effective than any grand declaration. Silent confidence speaks louder than words. You don't need to keep telling her you've changed. You don't need to write long messages proving your worth. She will know simply by the way you carry yourself, the way you respond, and the way you show up in your life. When someone is desperate, it seeps through everything they do. Every text has an undertone of pleading. Every conversation feels heavy. Every gesture feels like an attempt to convince. That kind of energy isn't attractive because it tells the other person you are dependent on their approval. But silent confidence sends the opposite messaging. I value myself whether you're here or not. That calm assurance is magnetic. It makes her curious again. It makes her wonder what's changed, why you're not trying so hard, why you seem stronger than before. That wonder plants the seed of attraction. Confidence doesn't mean arrogance, and it doesn't mean pretending not to care. It means you care about yourself enough to remain steady regardless of the outcome. It's in the way you hold eye contact without flinching, the way you listen without jumping to defend, the way you smile without trying to impress. All of those subtle behaviors communicate something deeper than words ever could. They communicate self-respect, and self-respect is irresistible. The beautiful thing about silent confidence is that it creates safety and excitement at the same time. Safety because she senses you won't fall apart without her, and excitement because she feels she has to earn her way back into your world rather than being handed everything immediately. That balance stirs desire in a way desperation never could. Imagine two men, one is constantly texting, constantly explaining, constantly asking for another chance. The other is polite, kind, but unshaken. He doesn't flood her with words, he lets his actions show growth. He doesn't demand her attention, he attracts it simply by being grounded and present. Which one do you think she feels more drawn to? The second one every time, because his confidence creates an invisible gravity. Silent confidence also means being okay with space. You don't need to rush in and fill every silence. In fact, those silences are where the most powerful shifts happen. When you don't react instantly, when you don't chase, when you let things breathe, she starts to feel the weight of missing you. She starts to think about you more, not because you're reminding her, but because your steadiness creates room for her to wander. And the truth is, women notice more than you think. They notice the smallest changes. They notice when you stop over explaining yourself. They notice when you carry yourself with more certainty. They notice when your energy no longer screams neediness but radiates assurance. Those subtle differences add up to a powerful message. You are not waiting for her to define your worth. You have already defined it yourself. Words can be dismissed, but presence cannot. She may ignore your texts, she may brush off your arguments, but she cannot ignore the way she feels when she sees you stand tall, composed, and at peace with yourself. That emotional impact is far greater than anything you could say. Silent confidence doesn't beg for attention, it earns it naturally, and when she senses that confidence, when she feels that energy, something shifts inside her. She remembers the man she first fell for, the man who didn't need to try so hard, the man whose presence alone was enough to make her feel drawn in. That's the man who pulls her back, not because he demanded it, but because he became magnetic again through quiet strength. One of the biggest mistakes people make when trying to win someone back is becoming too predictable. Every message, every call, every attempt feels the same, and predictability kills excitement. When she knows exactly what you'll say, exactly what you'll do, and exactly how you'll respond, there's no intrigue left. And intrigue is essential because curiosity is the spark that pulls someone closer even when they told themselves they wouldn't be. The real secret to drawing her back isn't endless reassurance, it's reigniting curiosity and mystery. When she first fell for you, part of what drew her in was the unknown. She didn't have you completely figured out, and that made you exciting. Every interaction felt like it held a surprise, a discovery, a layer she hadn't seen before. That sense of exploration is what created attraction. Over time, when things became routine, some of that mystery faded. And if the relationship ended, chances are she felt she already knew the script. That's why if you want her to return, you can't give her the same version of you she already left. You need to spark curiosity again so she begins to ask herself, what's different about him now? What changed? Did I miss something? Mystery doesn't mean playing games or pretending to be someone you're not. It means growing in ways that naturally surprise her. Maybe it's the way you suddenly seem more confident in conversations. Maybe it's how you're pursuing new passions. Maybe it's the calm energy you carry instead of the anxious energy she expected. Each of these changes makes her tilt her head and pay attention because they don't fit the version of you she thought she knew. That shift is powerful because it makes her curious to see more. Curiosity pulls her in without you having to push. When she can't fully predict your next move, she starts to wonder again. When she sees you enjoying your life without broadcasting every detail, she feels a quiet pull to know what's going on. When she hears about you from others and it doesn't match the old patterns, she begins to question if she walked away too soon. That questioning is the first step toward her return. The beauty of curiosity is that it allows her to come closer on her own terms. You're not forcing her, you're not persuading her, you're not making her feel trapped. Instead, you're creating an energy where she wants to lean in because she's genuinely intrigued. That desire to explore is far stronger than any pressure you could apply. People don't chase what feels forced, but they do chase what feels uncertain, exciting, and just out of reach. And this is where mystery becomes your ally. Don't overshare every detail of your growth. Let her see glimpses, but not the whole picture. Let her hear about your new adventures, but leave parts of the story untold. Allow her imagination to fill in the blanks, because imagination is powerful. Often, what she imagines will be even more compelling than what you could have told her outright. That tension between what she knows and what she doesn't know makes her lean in closer. When she senses that you're no longer the open book she once thought you were, she begins to feel drawn again. Not because you told her to be, but because the mystery stirs her emotions. And emotions always win over logic. She might have told herself the story was finished, but curiosity makes her want to turn the page. She may have thought she understood you completely, but mystery makes her realize there's still more to learn. Reigniting that curiosity is the secret that makes her return feel like her choice, not your demand. And when she comes back from her own desire to discover more, that's when the connection has the strongest chance of lasting. Because she didn't come back out of guilt or pressure or logic. She came back because the mystery you created made her want to feel that excitement with you all over again.